morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, and welcome to Global Atheist News Roundup, dateline 7th of October 2023. This week's headlines. More than 50 were killed in a suicide bomber blast in Mastung, Pakistan. Protesters confronted security forces as Iran marked the anniversary of a crackdown. Plain-clothed military forces fired on Muslims during Friday prayer in Zahedan, Iran. Iran hijab police are accused of beating a girl into a coma. In Turkey, 2 officers were injured in a blast outside the Interior Ministry. A Coventry student is found guilty of making IS chemical weapon drone. The National Secular Society refers a religious charity to the regulator over extremism concerns. Mormon crickets invade a US town. 10 are dead after the roof of a church in Tamaulipas, Mexico, collapses. A Brazilian grandmother has been praying to a figurine from Lord of the Rings for years without realizing it. First, we go to Momus, our Islamic news correspondent. Welcome, Momus.
Hello, Momus Najmi here with news from the Islamic world. More than 50 people have been killed and dozens injured in a suicide attack in Pakistan, police say. The blast happened near a mosque in the southwestern Balochistan province on Friday as people gathered to celebrate the birth of the Prophet Muhammad. Officials in Balochistan have declared a state of emergency. No group has claimed responsibility for the attack. Footage from the scene in the Baloch city of Mastung showed injured people being rescued by emergency responders and locals. Bodies were lying on top of one another, said Safiullah, a local journalist in his 40s. The crowd was waiting for a procession to begin. I was standing nearby when the bomb went off, he said, adding that 10 to 12 of his relatives died. Habiullah, 22, was injured in the attack. Speaking to the BBC from his hospital bed in Quetta, the provincial capital of Balochistan, he said, "Everything was ready on the stage. The bomb went off 2 minutes after I arrived. Everyone fell from its impact." Meanwhile, at least 5 people died in a separate blast at a mosque near Peshawar city in the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province. In other news, clashes erupted in Iran's restive southeast on Friday to mark the first anniversary of a crackdown by security forces on protesters known as Bloody Friday, according to rights group and social media videos. Videos posted on social media by the Iran human rights group IHR showed marchers confronting security forces in Zahedan, capital of the southeastern Sistan Balochistan province, as apparent sounds of shooting are heard. IHR and Baloch rights group Halwash said at least 23 people had been injured. The clashes came on the heels of an incident at a facility in southwest Iran, in which prisoners started a fire to protest against a death sentence issued against a fellow inmate, and shots were heard, an Iranian news agency reported. Following the announcement of the death sentence of a prisoner in Ram Hormuz prison, several prisoners have started a riot by starting a fire. the semi-official news agency Mehr reported on Friday. Gunfire could be heard from outside the prison. In Zahedan, Iran, plainclothes military forces of the regime fired on Muslims during Friday prayers. Scores were injured and some killed. They have been attacked inside the mosque. Protesters were marking the 1 year anniversary of Bloody Friday, when there was a brutal government crackdown on 30th of September 2022. A terrible massacre they don't forget easily. Ahmed Jalili says, "I'm not a reporter or a journalist, but as no one in the West seems to be covering it, I'll say it's a clear indication that the Islamic regime is teetering on the brink when its own devout Muslim population wants them gone. As the people scream, 'You are our Desh.'" Desh is also a word interchangeably used for ISIS. Activists have accused Iran's morality police of beating a girl for not wearing a hijab and posted a photo purportedly showing her in a coma. Armita Jerawand, 16, collapsed after boarding a Tehran metro train at Shohada station on Sunday. Officials said she fainted and released CCTV footage in which she is seen being pulled unconscious from the train. Human rights group Hango alleged that she was subjected to a severe physical assault by morality police officers. It said Armita was being treated at Tehran's Fajr hospital under tight security and that the phones of all members of her family had been confiscated. On Monday, authorities briefly detained a female journalist for the Sharq newspaper who went to the hospital to report on the case. And in other news, an explosion outside Turkey's interior ministry in the capital Ankara was a terrorist attack, the interior minister has said. Two attackers arrived in a car at around 9:30 a.m. or 6:30 GMT and carried out the attack, injuring two officers. An attacker blew himself up in front of a ministry building and another was neutralized. A group linked to the PKK has admitted carrying out the attack. The Kurdistan Workers' Party, PKK, is considered a terror group in Turkey, the EU, UK, and the US. The explosion on Ataturk Boulevard happened hours before military was due to reconvene after a summer break. Immortals Battalion, the group that claims responsibility, said this is why they targeted the ministry, which is close to Parliament. The incident began when one of the attackers exited their car and threw a small explosive at the ministry building to distract security. After this, the second attacker opened fire at guards by the ministry gate before setting off a bomb strapped to him, which resulted in his death. The first person, meanwhile, ran into the compound and was immediately shot dead by police. Two officers were injured. One was shot in the chest and another suffered injuries in both legs and an eye.
Thank you, Momus. A PhD student has been convicted of designing and building a drone for the terror group Islamic State that was capable of delivering a bomb. Mohammed al-Bared denied supporting IS after the device was found in a bedroom at his Coventry home, along with a 3D printer capable of making parts for it. Prosecutors alleged it would deliver a chemical weapon or some other kind of device in IS enemy territory. Al-Bared denied a charge of engaging in conduct in preparation for terrorism. But jurors at Birmingham Crown Court were told the mechanical engineering graduate was arrested at the same time as a raid was carried out at the home he shared with his parents. Officers seized several devices and also found an IS application form, which al-Bared, 27, denied filling in. Prosecutor Michelle Healy, KC, told the court the idea for the drone was somewhat inspired by the design of the Tomahawk missile, based on material recovered from his electronic devices. The material included references to fuses, mechanical detonators, and an explosive head, she said. The National Secular Society has referred an Islamic charity to regulators over concerns about extremism and anti-Semitism. The NSS referred the Islamic Centre Leicester to the Charity Commission in July after seeing a sermon recorded at the centre which suggested blasphemers should be executed. Another sermon said Jews have greed of long life because they fear punishment in the afterlife. Both sermons, delivered by Mufti Muhammad Shakir Patel Misbai, were uploaded to Misbai's YouTube account in June. According to the charity's newsletter, Misbai joined the Islamic Centre in 2008 as head teacher of the madrasa, the centre's religious school for children aged 4 to 13. The centre is registered under the charitable purpose of the advancement of religion and says it exists to promote the spiritual teachings of the Islamic religion. The Charity Commission told the NSS that it had decided that on this occasion, the best way forward is to engage with the charity, to put the concerns raised to the trustees, and to provide them with regulatory advice and guidance as needed. The NSS also reported Islamic Centre Leicester to the Charity Commission in 2019, after finding statements on its website saying those who leave Islam should be punished with death. Millions of Mormon crickets have invaded the town of Elko, Nevada, as they enter their migratory phase. The insects, which technically aren't crickets, are members of the Katydid family and don't sting or bite, but they can cause widespread damage to crops and other vegetation. Their name comes from their invasion of the crops of Mormon settlers in Utah in the 1800s. See this video.
You can see that they're moving and crawling, and the whole road's crawling, and it just makes your skin crawl. It's just so gross. When we looked out here, the whole wall was just covered. That really freaked me out.
They're creepy. At least 10 people, including 3 children, were killed when the roof of a church collapsed in northern Mexico. The collapse happened on Sunday afternoon local time as around 100 people were attending a baptism at Santa Cruz Church in Ciudad Madero. 60 people were injured, at least 2 of them seriously, and dozens were trapped underneath the rubble. Local residents rushed to the building with shovels and pickaxes to try to free those trapped. Search and rescue teams have since arrived at the scene, and 2 cranes are on site to remove the debris. One of the survivors described her ordeal on social media. Josephine Ramirez said she had been attending the baptism of her godchild when the roof came down. "Thank God I'm alive. I feared I would not see my beautiful family again. I don't know how we got out," she wrote. Local media reported that one of the people trapped had managed to send a WhatsApp message which helped rescuers to find him. Among those who died was reportedly a toddler and a couple with their 8-year-old son. Mexican newspaper Milenio reported the bishop of the Diocese of Tampico, where the church is located, said he was praying for the victims. A Brazilian grandmother has been praying to a figurine from the Lord of the Rings for years, without realizing it. The woman thought she was praying to Saint Anthony, but it turns out the figure was Elrond, Lord of Rivendell. Stay on this channel to watch Tercia and I chat with guest Professor Isaac J.J. Spangenberg. He's a very interesting person, and you can join in. It's a live show. He's gone from teaching the Bible to being I don't know about a worshipper, to having a vineyard. Not a worshipper of Bacchus at all. To having a vineyard. This has been Global Atheist News. Please like, subscribe and share. Thank you for watching.